in order to understand the skills of what we need to develop, we need to understand the skills we used to celebrate, the skills that are becoming less and less relevant today, and then the skills of tomorrow. And in order to do this, let's go back to the agricultural era. And in the agricultural era, we spoke about this on the call, in the agricultural era, what we have were 3 simple ways for us to add value to the world. And remember that these 3 simple ways were practiced for 10,000 years, for 500 generations. We were doing almost the same thing over and over and over. And they're very simple. You had to number 1, follow your forefathers. Number 2, understand the seasons. And number 3, make sure you had the strength to work the fields for up to 12 hours a day. Quite simple. That's all you had to do. Show up, be obedient, follow your forefathers, work the fields. For 10,000 years, the most important skill or quotient you could bring to the world was your physicality, your muscles. You could come to the place and work it. In fact, if you weren't strong, you'd quite literally starve to death because you weren't adding value to the village in any way. And so you realize for 10,000 years, PQ was by far the most important thing. But when the Industrial Revolution started to arrive, we started to realize that this PQ started to sort of fade out. And the way we measured output in the agricultural era was horsepower. And us as human beings are 1/3 of a horsepower. A horse is a horse of a horsepower, meaning 1 horsepower. But then as the new Industrial Revolution started to arrive, we started to get a truck that had 4 horsepower, already 12 times stronger than any human. And then all of a sudden we have the Bugatti at 1,600 horsepower. Then we have a ship at 100,000 horsepower. And now we have rockets at 7 million horsepower. We can't compete horsepower to horsepower. We don't even try anymore. Quick show of hands here. Who's quicker than a scooter? Anybody? Anybody run faster than a bicycle, quicker than pack quicker than a factory? No, it's not even what we do anymore. We're not physical anymore. Now we are intelligent beings. We're not into our physicality. And we realize that everything in the physical world is now being outsourced to machinery. Now, what we have to realize is that when the Industrial Revolution started to arrive, the way that we had to add value to the world had to dramatically change from the agricultural era. And in the industrial era, we didn't now have to follow our forefathers. We had to follow a system. And the system was our educational system, our organizational system. And the better you followed that system, the more you'd be prized. It wasn't about your uniqueness, your genius, your fascination, your physicality. It was about how well you could memorize, understand a system, and then follow that system. Also, what you had to do is get deeper and deeper into what you had studied. You couldn't jump between careers. You couldn't decide that you were going to be an accountant and then 10 years in, you have to now become PR and then HR and then marketing. Your CV would look terrible. Nobody would hire you. So at 16 or 18, you decided what you wanted to study. And for the rest of your life till you died, you actually just did that same career. Because why? You'd be hired on your experience. You'd be hired because of your network that you developed in that system. And over the last 200 years, what we've celebrated is intelligence quotient. And everything that happens up here is by far the most important thing. We intellectualize everything. We actually have stopped feeling anything. And if we don't go to gym, we don't even feel like work our physical bodies anymore. Everything's been focused on our intelligence. And we realize that this industrial era focused all of our energy on IQ. But look, let's see what's happening with IQ right now. Because right now, an average human has IQ of between 90 and 110, 120. That's an average human. ChatGPT 5.0 has already got an IQ of 148, which is already 20 or 30 points above the human that we have right now. Right now, Elon Musk has an IQ of 155. Whether you like him or not, it's not the point. The point is he's turning industry after industry after industry upside down, going to be the world's first trillionaire. I don't know if you saw that the other day. He's got now bonus structures from Tesla to get him to a trillionaire. And so now that's an IQ of plus minus 50 than the average human, plus minus. Then you add 8 more IQ points onto that, and you have Einstein, and Einstein now starts talking to us about a new version of reality, moving from Newtonian science to quantum science, giving us the rules and science behind laser lights, GPS, and a whole range of things we're still trying to get our heads around today. We're just talking about 55 more IQ points than the average human. We're not talking about a lot of IQ points above the average human, and we're already in super genius space. But what we are realizing is that AI is doubling on intelligence every 6 months or so. Meaning that at 148, by the end of the year, we'll be sitting at 280, 90, over 400, over 600, which means that over the next few years, we'll start dealing with AIs that will have 10 times, if not 100 times more IQ points than us. Meaning that we can't compete IQ to IQ, just like we can't compete physicality to a scooter, let alone a car, let alone a truck, let alone a ship. Even the smallest mechanical idea we can't compete against. And this is exactly what's happening to our intelligence. It's starting to move over to machinery, which means that we have to start developing new skills of how we add value to the world. And before I ask you, or show you what the 3 new skills are, quick show of hands here. Who's got kids? How many of your kids want to be influencers? Oh, good, 3, 4. So embarrassed, yeah, embarrassed that your kids want to be influencers, but you know your grandmother was embarrassed when you told her you wanted to do something, because it's the same thing, right? So you become your grandmother, congratulations. So what we realize is that when something happens that we don't quite understand, we mock it, which is kind of what everybody does, because you're like, what is this idiot? And you tell your friends, this little muppet wants to go and do TikTok schmuck talk. I don't know what you're even talking about. What are you doing? Go and pick up a textbook and get ready for 1986 like your mother did. That's what you're wanting your kid to do. Because it's just familiarity that you're wanting to get there to. But let's understand something, that the skills of tomorrow are not fitting into a system. They're doing exactly the opposite. They're actually about fitting out of the system. Why? The system itself is dissolving right in front of our eyes right now. Newly grads can't get jobs. You're starting to see many organizations start to downgrade. Agents are starting to get hired. People are starting to get let go. Why? Because the system itself is becoming demonetized, democratized, and disrupted right in front of our eyes. So we get our kids to go to something called uni-versity, meaning they go and study one thing, and by the time they finish, that one thing's over. And now we're stuck. And so what we actually want to do is multi-versity, which is about engaging with many different things as possible. What that requires us is our kids not to follow a system, but to follow their God-given curiosity. When you follow your God-given curiosity, you're unique. Nobody else thinks like you, acts like you, story tells like you, adds value to the world like you. Whereas before it was about fitting into the system, where the system is imploding, we have to fit out of the system, which means that your kids wanting to be influencers are only asking for one thing, a unique voice. They just want to share that unique voice. And that unique voice, we can see people making hundreds of millions of dollars around the world, just sharing a unique voice about some idea, some process, some service, some product. Which means that what we have to do is we have to develop a new skill. It's not about intelligence, it's about a brand new skill that's much more focused about constant change. And when you are focused on just one type of intelligence, which you've gone to uni-versity, one thing, and studied one thing over and over, that's not being adaptable. In fact, that is the exact opposite of being adaptable. That's being stuck to one type of thinking and then now focusing on that one type of thinking moving forward. Now we realize that the big four consultancies have brought out papers, and they reckon that if you are 10 years old today, you'll have up to between 20 and 30 careers by the time you finish working. Meaning that we went from 1 or 2 maybe careers to 15 times more careers that they have to keep unlearning, to relearn, to unlearn, to relearn. And guess what? We'll be competing against our kids over the next 5 to 10 years because they'll be in the same marketplace as us. Because the marketplace that we're in right now is going to radically change over the next 5 years. And so we realize that the skill of the future is not what you know. What you know is irrelevant because it's changing so quickly. The skill of the future is how you behave. And the how is very different to what. What is being focused and directed. How is being relaxed and experimental. It's a very different type of skill set. And so the skill of the future is not IQ, it's not PQ, it's AQ, which is adaptability quotient. And this adaptability quotient is exactly the opposite of what our brains have been taught to do. Exactly the opposite. Our brains have not been asked to be adaptable in any way. And we realize that there's been so much written about AQ. And it's very important for us to study and understand the skill sets of adaptability. But there's also a very, very big underpinning of what makes adaptability the key practice to have. And the big thing that makes adaptability work is high levels of emotional intelligence.